Welcome to episode 15 of the Oh So Spurs podcast, where today we've got Si with us. How are you, mate?
Yeah, hello, Jim.
We've got Deej with us. How are you, man?
Hello, I am.
We've got Stu. How are you, mate?
Evening all.
And of course, we've got Jonny. How are you, man?
Same as everyone else.
Oh God! So, do we even want to discuss the performance as a whole, or should we just get stuck into Kane's red card and the unfair abuse he's getting on social media? Where do you want to start? Go on, Si. I can see you're thinking.
Well, listen. The two things can be true, right? Did he milk it? Was it a red card? It was an obvious red card. No doubt about it. You look at the slow-mo, you look at the stills. Decore's got his hand curled into Kane's eyes like he's a fucking bowling ball, for Christ's sake. Of course it's a red card. But what you've got to do, it's a little bit like the Jesus dive. You've got to make sure that the ref has to make a decision. So he's gone down. Did he need to stay down for 25 minutes? I'm not sure. You wouldn't do that in the booze if you're out with your mates. But listen, it is what it is, and people are making it out like he's the only person ever to have ever done this in the history of football ever.
He's not even the worst Spurs player. I mean, Lamella's one against United was even worse.
Beautiful. So yeah. Did he milk it? Of course he milked it. And if any one of us want to sit here and say he didn't milk it, we're talking nonsense. But it was a red card. It's one of the worst hand-to-face contacts that I've seen. Certainly this season and certainly in recent seasons, the way that Kane smashed his face into his palm, I thought Kane should have gone, actually.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy because you sort of in the playground and you see the kids copying like Ronaldo, Sue, and all that crap, and all the histrionics with. If I'm refereeing the boys when we're doing after school soccer and stuff, sorry, we call it soccer in Ireland. But they're giving you all this stuff that their idols are doing on screen every week, and people are like so selective about what's kind of the kind of cricket, what's acceptable. It's just absolute nonsense because football, it's just such a rotten sport, isn't it? When it comes to just sporting conduct and how players behave, how they represent their teams, like grown men getting paid all that money. Absolutely, the way they treat the referees, even like, let's be honest, like the conduct of the fans. If you've got a rugby game or a cricket match, you get a bit of like tomfoolery and everything. But like the fans are pretty hideous as well. We're guilty of that too, So hang on, we're going to just take the England captain here, and we're going to give him slightly more rigorous, in fact, seriously more rigorous scrutiny, and a whole lot of criticism over something that. Again, if he was playing in a different jersey or if he had a different name on the back of his shirt, nobody would be saying anything. And we were saying before about the Jesus dive at the weekend, but like these things are happening continuously. And I just think like football is just, if you're really going to be that, politically correct or moral about how you behave yourself, can we actually do this? Can we book players who are using the referee? Let's actually do it properly. Otherwise, just shut up and let's get on with it the way we always have. Si's absolutely right. What is he supposed to do? Yeah, it was a bit embarrassing, especially when you see it in slow motion replay. But he has to do it. That's what everybody does. So, move on, please.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is exactly. Jose Mourinho said when he came in, like, we're too nice. We need to be the cunts, basically, and we are. Like, when someone does that, then suddenly we're just trashed in the press for doing it. And I feel like it's a sport of such fine margins whereby all these footballers are really, really, really good. Even in like championship level, they're all elite sportsmen and athletes. And these little margins are the difference between 1 point and 3 points.
There isn't a Premier League footballer that doesn't go down like a sack of shit if he gets it in the face like that. There's not one player playing that wouldn't do that.
I mean, half of them fall down when they haven't been touched. And I mean,
look at the penalty we gave away last week before the international break against Southampton.
Yeah.
There was far less contact there than there was for Kane. Yet Maitland-Niles looked like he had been shot. I'm sorry. Like, if you're gonna like hold Kane to this standard, hold every player to this standard, hold Bruno Fernandes, who probably covers more distance rolling around on the ground than he does on his feet.
Yeah. He can work on a cricket pitch. He rolls around so much, couldn't he? Stu, to your point, what was the point you made before when we were chatting? You made it.
About Kane being the only player being forced to look at replay. And no one else. I mean, what about Fernandes every single game he plays? What about Salah? I mean, every single team's got multiple players who dive left, right, and centre, and Kane is the only one who gets picked out. What the hell?
So you're allowed to do that with a player, but you're not allowed to grill a referee straight after the game?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, that's that one sorted then. I think we put that one to
So basically what we're saying is Kane went down way too easily, and he was I get why it would really rile you up if you didn't support Spurs, but fuck them all, because it's fine margins. You need to do that shit to get your point across. Otherwise, he might get away with that face grab, and then we lose 1-0 and don't draw 1-1.
People aren't talking about Doucouré. Like, I'm sorry, but like, who's the bloke that's responsible for the situation in the first place? And I mean, like, okay, Dyche is going to react the way he reacts. I'm sure Stellini would have done the same if it's the other way around. But like, come on, like, what are you supposed to do? And the other fella's just a complete prize plonker for doing what he did. It's completely nuts.
Doucouré's walking around with his eyeball on his finger. So do I. Kane's there getting interviewed with one eye missing.
So, okay, we've kind of gone in the wrong order, but to the performance itself, wasn't that just Conte 2.0 with a mask on? Or, as someone said,
worse.
sorry. It was Conte without the hair transplant, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. We started the game okay, but I don't know. I think a lot of people. I thought that we fell off in the first half a lot quicker than we do normally. I think that our first 15 minutes looked bright, and then the rest of the game we kind of looked on par with Everton, which Everton are playing much better under Dyche, and I think that I do think that it's important to remember that they have had basically a complete 180 from the start of their season, but like they're still in the relegation area, and we should be outplaying them, and we just didn't. We couldn't build up play on the left hand side of the pitch, completely non-existent for multiple reasons. Son was playing level with Højbjerg and Skip, which like. I get Son had a bad game, but like you cannot put a player with his skill set in that position and have a good game. We basically did play a 3-4-3, but Son was the wingback and Perisic was just parked on the back line because Perisic cannot contribute to build-up play at all. He is great at crossing, and I'm not trying to take that away. He is tailor-made for this kind of game if we set up around him properly. But setting up around him properly probably means not playing Son. But I personally think that it is more important to have Son in the team than it is to have Perisic in the team.
But Perisic has got some lovely highlights, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he shot the ball into the moon at fucking minute 3.
I don't know. I thought he had a couple of good moments, Perisic. I thought
he did.
There was a couple, but I get it.
The fella crosses the ball well, right? The fella he stuck a couple of good crosses in. There was one that went that got cut out to Porro that would have been a really good chance. So, but that doesn't negate the fact that just totally fucks up that left-hand side of our pitch. Yeah. Every time that him and Son are on the pitch together, you have the same issues. You can't defend because neither of them are wing-backs, really. And then they get in each other's way, and what that means is that Son drops inside into that inner channel, and he's getting the ball to feet with his back to goal all the time. What?
My dad actually, he came and joined me to watch the game, and after about 15 minutes goes, "Oh, why is Son not playing?" I'm like, "No, he is." And that tells you all you need to know about his impact on the game. It was just, as you said, it's ruined by Perisic. Let's also not put all the blame on Perisic, because even when Cesc was playing and Davies has been playing there, Son has not exactly contributed much. I mean, he's had an awful, awful season. Yes. I mean, he looks like he can't even control a ball. I mean, it's just a drop off a cliff like I've never seen. Like Jonny, to be honest.
Isn't it like that graphic showing though on social media of like how out of position he is playing at the moment? That he's not. That's not his strengths. Like he's not meant to be this kind of like intricate little build-up player with like fancy one touch. He is just a great finisher who's really good at spotting runs. That is his game.
And I do think that his performance has picked up a little bit, or it did pick up a little bit when we started playing Davies at wingback. Yeah, and I went back and looked at the average positioning for the wingbacks. Every wingback combination with Son, because I saw the the average player position, like I'm pretty sure everyone did after the game yesterday, and I was wondering how much of that was just a tactic and how much of that was Perisic. So it actually looks like Perisic playing higher up is somewhat of a new thing, because at the beginning of the season, whether it was Son or Richarlison, whoever was playing on the left hand side, because Son, broke his face. Most of it was either I honestly didn't remember how much Sessegnon played at the beginning of the season, but like Sessegnon was always deeper than Son. Davies is always deeper than Son, and then Son and Perisic, it's about 50-50 whether or not Son is equal to, because obviously those pass maps aren't completely perfect, and because Perisic comes back deeper on defense, it's going to drag his position back even further than he would be otherwise. So I gave a little bit of leeway. But
am I being a bit stupid here? But the wing back should be further back than Son, right?
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's crazy that in 50% of games
you get the overlap. That's how it works, right? I mean, I'm just I don't know. I don't really get really into the tactics, and this is why I really enjoy you being on the pod, DJ, because you look at that sort of thing and you make us think a little bit differently, because then aren't Perisic and Son just occupying the same kind of role then?
Yeah, Perisic is basically playing left wing who attempts to get back on defense and basically acts as a traffic cone.
Right.
For
not much attempting to go back. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. He can't defend.
Yeah. Because half the time you see the other team attacking down our left, and he's still on the halfway line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why I think that we have, whether it's Davies or Longley, whenever Perisic is playing, I have so much respect for whoever our left center back is. Because Longley gave up the yellow, but like I thought he was honestly one of our better players yesterday. I think that he did a pretty decent job shutting down everything coming on the left, especially with, because like I would see him make a tackle sometimes because I was watching on my phone in like 240p because I haven't renewed my television plan, and so I got it through other totally legal means. And
there's lots of them about.
Yeah. And I saw someone make a tackle. I was like, oh, good tackle, Perisic, and then they pan up to the halfway line because we're going back up, and Perisic is just sitting there. It's. I don't want to be too harsh on Perisic because I get it. He's like old, and he is very good at crossing. And I think he's very gifted at attacking. Just play him at left wing then. Just play him at left wing.
Yeah. So it's a bit more sunny then, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but we can't. Exactly. We're missing the elephant in the room, which is actually that the media won't give us any sympathy for this, but we are ravaged with an injury crisis at the moment, and there's a reason why we didn't change formation, and that was because we literally couldn't.
Nobody.
Literally, unless we just dip into the under 18s, we're absolutely on our bare bones at the moment. So
yeah, but you're right, but I still think if Sarr is good enough to play at the San Siro, we could have changed formation and taken off Son and replaced him with Sarr and put 5 in the middle, 3 centre midfielders.
Listen, Everton were always going to load that midfield because they know that's where we have the problem. We can't control the game through possession, so teams overload the midfield against us 3 against 2, and that's where our problem is. They push us deep, and then we really don't have an outball because Son isn't doing what he should be doing, etc., etc. So why, especially when you go down to 10 men, Everton just take off a forward and still have that overload in the midfield?
Well, yeah, no, I agree, and this reminds me of Dan, who's come on to one of the pods, and he'll come on future ones, who's a football coach. posted this in our WhatsApp group, right?
Yeah.
He said the advantages of this is before we appointed Conte. It said there are many advantages to the 3-4-3 Conte plays. However, here are the disadvantages, and this is before we ever kicked a football with Conte. You will be susceptible to counter-attacks when wing-backs are committed to supporting the attack. It requires central defenders who are comfortable in possession and who can progress the ball both through carries and passing. Without this, the system is flawed. You're in danger of the front three making similar movements and occupying the same spaces when they are too narrow. Your wing-backs need to be competent two-way players who can make a positive impact both in and out of possession. Got that issue as well. And lastly, which is obviously very stark, facing opposition with three central midfielders creates an underload situation in central areas.
And the other drawback to that is when you don't have any plan B at all. Yeah. There's this rigidness to not change the system irrelevant of what's happening.
Speaking of that, that's actually another thing that I found that I completely forgot about till you said that. When we played do you remember like the 3 matches we played a 3-5-2 because we had nobody on the front line that was healthy?
Yeah.
We didn't. We played Skip as a right winger.
Right.
Based on average pass maps, Skip played as a right wing.
Did he really?
Every single game we played a 3-5-2. Like the average positioning maps just had all of our Skip. I had to make sure that it wasn't something that was wrong with like the website I was using because it had everybody else fairly normal and then 4 in the spot that we normally see Kulusevski in.
Right.
And so like even when we play a 3-5-2, we don't play a 3-5-2 . We play a 3-4-3 with someone out of position.
Because Skip's a wicked right wing as well. Sorry, Jonny, go. Sorry.
No, just this is not my forte. The entire tactical analysis of everything, but just when you look at the substitution, and people were arguing last night on the group about there's no other options in terms of substitutions. I mean, clearly the Longley Sanchez one was absolutely insane. But to have Pap Sarr on the bench and not bring him on, because we were inviting so much pressure on ourselves, if you're going to even do that and fall into that trap, which seems to be our default kind of reaction to when we go ahead, especially recently, what happened against Southampton as well, when you're just getting deeper and deeper, you're getting more and more panicky and you're retreating, even when we've got a man advantage, to not bring on, at least that would be the obvious time for me to be bringing on Sarr and then crowding the midfield and making it more difficult for, like the way they got their equaliser from. I mean, it's crazy. I think people to be having a pop at Hugo for that is insane. But,
that's on the manager. Agree with you.
It is. Yeah.
And that's been the case since 2019, right, Jonny? Like, since Jose Mourinho came in, we knew every game how... I feel like for 4 years, I've known exactly how every game will go. Like, if we go 1-0 up first, I know we'll put 11 men behind the ball and we'll keep it tight and we'll somehow feel like we're getting away with it. And on the 85th minute, we'll concede and then we'll throw on some random substitutions, like-for-like players that won't change the game.
With 10 minutes to go, they're not going to get into the game. They're not match ready. And you know, Jim, I was sitting here thinking today, what are we going to talk about other than bitch and moan about everything that we've bitched and moaned about for the past 7 or 8, 14 episodes almost? And I was thinking you could almost take the Sheffield United, the Wolves, the Southampton game and just replace Southampton with Everton and just do a search and replace for Southampton, Everton, Wolves, Everton, and you've got the same game. And I think I posted, I don't know if it was in this group or the main group or whatever, at about 75 minutes, I said, this has got a draw written all over it. An Everton equaliser is absolutely fucking nailed on. And it's like, Jesus Christ, everybody could see it.
But what I don't understand is we are fans. You know, we don't play with, we don't obviously observe the players training, etc., etc. But we have all seen Sanchez play at left centre-back and right centre-back. Right centre-back, he's okay. Left centre-back, it's Bambi on fucking ice. What the fuck was he doing yesterday, bringing him on? And then deciding, let's play out from the back and faff about with a bloke who doesn't know how to play. What the hell?
Yeah.
It was truly 2 of the most mind-blowing substitutions that we could have possibly made, because Everton the way that you go about scoring goals, if you're a team like Everton, is normally to hoof it up to the big boy in the front and hope he can get his fat forehead on it. But they don't have that guy right now because Dominic Calvert-Lewin has legs made of glass or something. I don't know. And so like I don't. And for as good as Iwobi was before they took him off, for as good as Damari Gray is, they were not getting infield with any amount of success enough for me to think that wouldn't be like that would be something that we would have to worry about. So I don't understand why. Sure, Sarr isn't like some like silver bullet, but just putting an extra body in the midfield to keep the ball from coming down the center like it did for the goal. And obviously this is a bit hindsight 2020. And maybe we put Sarr on and they score from a worldie from Gray or whoever else they have on the midfield.
Is it even like this is the problem with this fucking approach of having a manager like Stellini, and now he doesn't give a shit what happens to Tottenham next season. He doesn't give a shit. And for us, it's, in my view, we're not going to get fourth. That is just not going to happen.
Done.
So
No chance.
At least play some players and stuff that are going to build towards next season. Play Sarr. Give some of the young players a go. Try some new shit. Who cares? Because we're not going to get fourth, and the fans don't care about fourth. And because we've got the revenue we do now, fourth is not the be all and end all. It helps.
It wouldn't hurt being 1 year out. You know what I mean? But the thing is that if as long as you defend on the edge of your box, you are inviting pressure. You're inviting a free kick. You're inviting a penalty. You're inviting all sorts of things around there. Loads of shit can go wrong if you defend that deep.
There were two chances yesterday. There was Eric Dyer farting around with the ball just into the second half, and he gave a chance to Gay, and he ballooned it over the bar. Should have squared it to Corey. And then a little bit later on, I think it was just after we got the penalty, Romero did something similar, and Gray just shot straight at the Reese. But if we're playing a decent team, you're going to get punished for those. Yeah,
definitely.
But
go on, Stu. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, going back to the point about looking for the future. Like Lucas, we've known for 4 months now that he wasn't being renewed. That he was leaving on a free at the end of the season. Why the hell is he getting even 1 minute of game time? Let alone the first sub that comes on. We should be putting on Danjuma, who we brought on, giving him a chance to see if we want to keep him. Bring on this lad Mundell if we really want to keep him, rather than let him go to Man City. Bring on, Devine in the midfield if you want to try some creativity. Let's just do something. But Lucas, what the hell?
But the thing with Stellini was there's no change of tactics.
Yeah. And that's what annoys me. Sorry. I was going to say that prior to the game, in his press conference, he was going on about giving all these players who've been shut out a chance. And what the hell did he do? First game, what did he do? Revert back to exactly what Conte. Exactly the same substitutes that Conte made. If I were, Levy should go in there and just fucking fire him. Say, okay, we had this agreement. This is what you're going to do. Get out. Fuck off.
And you're still thinking, what the fuck has Danjuma done? What has he done?
Yeah.
It's something ridiculous. It's like you get the guy on loan for the end of the season, and we've only got him to the end of the season. There's nothing more than that, right?
Nope.
And so we're paying a loan fee of some description that isn't going to be insubstantial. And then you just you sit over there, mate. And we get the geezer who's leaving at the end of the season. Let's get him on, and the decision making for the tackle was atrocious. By the way. He was so far away from the ball, so far away from that tackle. That was and that was a red all over it all day long.
100%.
It's just it does my head in how Lucas has been anywhere near a pitch while Tottenham Hotspur Football Club have been playing a game for the past year and a half. Like, I don't remember the last. Sure, Ajax, brilliant, and I will always hold him in some regard for that Ajax game. But realistically, besides that and the random screamer he had against Norwich a couple of years ago,
that's right. Yeah.
Oh, good goal though.
What has he done?
Yeah.
He's like Son, but worse.
His assist and goal record for 4 is appalling.
Yeah.
He jumps well, though. He's good there for a little fella, isn't he?
Little salmon.
He did get that flick on at the front post against City a couple of years ago to keep our randomly incredible.
I can't. I can't. Oh.
Tim's gone.
I can't. I'm just him coming up. Oh my god! Fuck.
It's objectively. Sanchez makes sense. Sanchez, I understand. Long glaze on a yellow. They're pushing up. We have decided for whatever reason to sit back.
I cannot. Would have been better.
No.
I cannot believe that Stellini had the balls to go out and say that we were trying to push forward, because that is objectively false, because you cannot push forward and control the ball with Sanchez on the left. It is just not possible. I love Sanchez. I think he's probably a great person. He like Stuart said, he's Bambi on ice. And that's probably being generous to him. But you cannot control possession with one of your 3 center backs being Sanchez. So we are obviously trying to sit back.
Can we just I'm just so sick of with injuries, we have to play 3 at the back at the moment, but I can't believe we've gone this far in the season. We're playing 3 at the back and we've got 1 competent centre back. We're going, right, let's go to the model Romero's half competent. Yeah, he's.
I think watching this online meltdown is not pretty, mate.
No, I still think Romero is a world-class talent. I think that he will be great, but we just need to have anyone next to him.
You've got to bear in mind that Romero may as well be playing in a pair of slippers because of the people next to him. Like, he's at such a disadvantage playing such a competence.
He makes quite a few mistakes himself and a lot of rash, stupid tackles.
He gave the ball away a couple of times last night. I thought it was just unforgivable for this ball-playing centre-back that we've got.
Exactly.
And what is Spanish for calm the fuck down? Because Eric Dyer needs to learn that.
Yeah, but there is an element of the players have clearly checked out.
Totally.
In my view, they've completely gone.
Yep.
This season, I don't give a fuck about 4th. Good for you, Enoch. Yeah. That's great. You get an extra 30 million quid. But for me, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm done with this year. I'm done with the season. Why should I listen to Stellini and all these coaches? That we need a new manager in now. Surely we can't limp through.
You look at the league table, and United were horrendous the other day against Newcastle.
They were.
And obviously, Liverpool, they scalp United, and then
Liverpool's lineup.
So there's always, there's the teams around us are doing. It's like class season all over again. The teams in that hunt are all just trying to hand the initiative to the other teams. So even though we're absolutely bollocks, we're still actually in the discussion. And as long as we're actually in the discussion, like, nobody's going to be making radical changes. Like, Jim, what you're saying about bringing in new blood and looking ahead to next year and moving forward, especially when you've got the guy in charge who's there, it's just never going to happen. And until we're mathematically so far off the pace, I don't see anything changing. And we'll, if Stellini's still there, it's still not going to change. And is Stellini really going to leave before the end of the season? I don't know. Maybe things have to be.
I don't think so.
We are in purgatory, and it's the worst fucking place to be. I'd rather be in a nosedive or an ascendance than stuck treading water like this.
So what's that telling you about the manager situation at the moment then? Because if we're this shit, then why hasn't he made the call to Poch? Or if he has, there's 2 things that's happened, right? Either Levy doesn't want Poch, or Paratici doesn't want Poch, and we're waiting for the outcome of that. Waiting for the outcome of the appeal, or Poch doesn't want us. Maybe he's holding out for the Madrid job and seeing what happens with Madrid.
We're not exactly this God's gift opportunity that's going to oh my God, I missed the Tottenham opportunity. At the moment,
that says to me that we might be in the running for somebody else. De Zerbi's got a clause in his contract, but you can't activate it until mid-season. So you can't activate it till the summer. I think it's about 10 or 12 mil. I think is the buyout for Zerbi. So is there then the case of Levy's just written the season off and De Zerbi's on the horizon? Because I'd take him all day long.
I hope so. I don't think that we will move. I am hoping there are 2 realms of possibility. One is that Tottenham are acting like a genuinely big club, and by big club I don't mean jumping in at the first opportunity that looks good. I mean that we are doing our due diligence and not letting things leak.
Yeah.
If that is the case, then that is great. And if we get a manager that I think is up to the standard that we have set for ourselves over the past couple of years, basically since Poch, then so be it. That's wonderful. The other opportunity, the other option here, which is what I'm worried is happening, is that we have Paratici, who cannot pick out a coach to save his life. He wanted to hire Gattuso. Gattuso is such a bad manager that that alone should have been grounds for firing, in my opinion.
Oh, even Nuno was his choice. Fuck me.
Exactly.
And
Nuno was better than Gattuso.
Levy is for all his strengths in business, we've been this conversation a million times, his footballing decisions are shit. And he had to step in to get Conte because Paratici was fucking around with these absolute wasters on his shortlist.
We could have had Fonseca, and Fonseca's not a world beater manager, but at least Lille are fun to watch.
Oh no, but to be fair, that was Paratici's choice, wasn't it, Fonseca?
No.
Paratici's the reason why he didn't come.
Exactly.
Oh really?
Because he fell out with. Because Paratici wanted to play more pragmatic football.
So who was our shortlist under Paratici? We had Nuno, Gattuso. And now he wants Brendan Rodgers. Apparently, that's his number one guy. That was his first choice back then, wasn't it? It was Brendan. No. Brendan was his number one, and Potter was his number two.
I don't think Levy would even would entertain Rodgers. Not after the Liverpool saga. We went for him. We went for him after Swansea, didn't we?
But this is the problem with Levy, though, isn't it? It's like catch-22 with him because
but I quite like the fact he won't entertain Rodgers because we don't want him.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, I'm on this thing of I don't want Levy to be anywhere near a football decision. But when we get linked with Paratici going, Brendan Rodgers is the man, I'm like, please, Levy, veto it. That's why you can't.
I don't want him anywhere near it until I want him near it.
You would hope that. We're just waiting for April the 19th when Paratici is going to lose his appeal because he will lose his appeal.
Oh, let's hope.
He was going to get fired, and I would just hope that, as DJ said, we're acting like a big club. We've got, done our due diligence on a replacement MD, and he'll be announced on April 20th. And then that MD will have the philosophy, what we're looking for, and we'll hire the manager that fits that philosophy. Whether that's De Zerbi, who is also my first choice, or whether it's Slot from Feyenoord, or whoever. But
that's where we come back into the culture discussion we've been having over maybe the last 2 or 3 pods, is that you need to set the culture direction from the top. And that's Levy plus the director of football, and then you flow it down through the whole of the organisation, and you say, this is us, this is what we're about, this is how we do it. And everybody within that organisation looks at that and goes, right, I can get behind that. I get it. And I understand what I do to contribute towards that. Whether it's the kit man, whether it's the bloody canteen or whatever, I understand that I have a role to play in achieving that. And we haven't got that at the moment because we're all over the shop.
Yeah. We are. And this comes back to our last pod, doesn't it? The structure is... Sorry, Gage, go on.
There are plenty of good director of footballs are available right now. I would hope that we are looking at some of them. For example, Michael Edwards left Liverpool. He's very good. Tim Steidten left Leverkusen, and Leverkusen have traditionally had pretty good investment. Players like Moussa Diaby and Hincapi, who we've been linked to a couple times. Players like that. We were linked to Rui Pedro Braz from Portugal. There are plenty of good. We can definitely get a better DOF than Mr. Crime when he loses his appeal. If he wins his appeal, I will. We're gonna hire Steven Gerrard or something. And I'm gonna cry.
This is where we are though, because if now that they've set the scene that he's on a leave of absence till reappeal. Then Levy's painted himself into a corner because if he wins the appeal, you've got to reinstate him. Because otherwise, why is he on a leave of absence? You've got no choice.
Yeah,
or he has Levy's, or uses his mafia connections to get some dirt on Levy.
Does this concern you? Because I've noticed a big behavioural change in Tottenham. When we were doing really well, okay, I won't say really well because people will say no trophies, that's not really well. But when we went from our kind of like mid-table resurgence up to top 6 under Levy, we always made decisions really like abruptly and definitively. So we sacked Yol at half time and, you know, we just didn't muck around. It was always like, okay, he made some shit decisions, but if he made a shit decision, he quickly checked out of that decision and moved on to the next one. Yeah. But now it's like everything's so dragged out. Like we knew Conte was a goner 2 months before he was sacked. We know Brachi's a goner. Why are we waiting?
Doesn't that tell you that our target is the summer then?
Yeah, that's what I think.
That tells you that Levy's target is available in the summer, not now. Because then it doesn't matter what happens now.
Who's good that is willing to join us now?
Exactly.
I don't think it would make sense for a manager to join us now from our point of view or from theirs.
There's better options out there.
There's too many options, and we're in a shit show right now, and it's going to be tough to kind of get us out of this downward spiral. So you're not going to ruin your reputation.
But the only one that makes sense now is Poch.
Yeah.
Because Poch then gets the emotional connection with the fans, and it really doesn't matter what happens for the last 9 games, really, in terms of Poch's goals and his end game. Then you've got him with those players till the end of the season. You've got a full pre-season, and really, you draw a line. If you appoint Poch now, you draw a line now, and it's then next season, right?
Yeah.
And then anything else is a bonus. Yeah. So Poch is the emotional appointment.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen, though, does it?
No, exactly that. Exactly that, Johnny. The fact that it hasn't happened now means I don't think it's happening, which means Poch ain't coming.
I don't think he wants. I think it's a two-way thing.
I don't think we want him either.
No,
yeah, two-way thing.
And I tell you what, Nagelsmann is an absolute dodge of a bullet. I tell you. So I work in Switzerland, and I've got quite a few Germans that I work with who say he's an absolute fucking fruitcake.
Yeah, and I've
an absolute nut job.
I won't say.
What are you talking about?
Fit it nicely.
I think every great manager is a nut job, but he's at least a nut job that plays attacking football. So I'd take it.
Yeah, it's a nut job that comes in on an automatic surfboard.
HG from the Cheese Room as well. Like he's voiced his view on this guy a few times, and he follows German football. He's just like he's an absolute.
Also, and then Christian also didn't rate him.
Yeah, you're Christian, mate. Yeah, sorry, Stu, go on.
No, I was going to say that he obviously buying season ticket holders. He still follows them. Not as close as Spurs, but. When I first reached out to him, he's like, "Nah, we don't want him. He's not the right man."
I think his words were he's an arrogant idiot or something like that. Along those lines, like his ego, just like the feedback from the players was like he's an older brother, not a manager. Like turning up on like a longboard, shagging the fit news reporter, rather than focusing on his job. It's just
I like him as a fella. But not as a manager.
He's like the naughty older brother. He's a naughty older brother. He's not a leader.
But also, we've talked loads on the pod with loads of different guests about that. What we need is a manager that's going to come in and see this as a step up and a progression for them that is going to drive us on. I don't think coming from Bayern to us, he won't see that as a step up. It's a step down.
Yeah. I think that the way you could look at that positively is that if we got a competent director of football and probably some changes in the board, I'm not saying that Levy steps down because I live, unfortunately, in the realm of reality where he owns 30% of the team. He is not stepping down anytime soon because this is his pet project, whether you like it or not. But there needs to be change. Like if we get changes in the board, if we get changes in the director of football, I don't know. I think from what I hear, despite all of Paradicci's shortcomings, he has done a decently good job of setting up a scouting department, which is good news for us. It means that there's less to do for an incoming director of football.
I think that's a good point about the board. Like, how is Donna Cullen still there? She's our PR expert, and we've just had one PR disaster after another.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to look at it as these. Imagine Weird have been fortunate enough to have like 6-7 million quid each, like these lads did, and Donna who bought Spurs, and they were like, "Yeah,
I'm not taking a pay cut.
Let's buy a football club," and then 20 years later, you're like, we've turned 30 million quid into 3 billion pounds, and it's going up 100 million quid every few months. So we are the bollocks. Yeah. We are like, why would we let anyone else into our little club as well? Like, this
so
is
I'll
our
take
thing.
your PR feedback, Stu, and you can do one, mate, because I'm rolling in it.
It's interesting that TJ's talking about like the director of football and what sort of manager you want to bring in to build. And Stu's making the point about one manager that wants us, that sees us as a step up. And most of the names that are linked with us, a hell of a lot of them are definitely not in that category. But then you sort of look back and Nuno's kind of, he wasn't really, shouldn't have been
mistake
there in the
there
first
was a mistake.
Place. But yeah, 100%. But and you remember obviously that was the summer with Kane, the Man City courtship and everything. And really, I guess when Mourinho came in, then it was Kane's future was a bit more assured. But we're kind of also that's an element of the conversation. Kane's future. I mean, that is part of certainly the media discourse. I don't know if how much it should really be part of ours as fans, as anyone who is looking towards the future of Tottenham. I mean, none of us, if you had the choice, is going to say goodbye to Harry Kane. But
no.
When you're looking at the sort of replacement that might come in, and it might be the project, might be still somebody like. I mean, I don't know how these managers would go down and what it would take to keep Kane, but to get that somebody who can straddle that ambition and the right sort of placement in terms of their career progression. And
I'm going to ask you a question here. We're going to go around to finish this pod. We're going to all ask everyone the same question. You've got to choose your manager, and you've also got to say which players you would be offloading in a part of this process as well. So summer hits, day one, you can offload any of those players for at least a free transfer, and you can choose the manager. Oh. So, Jonny, who are you going for?
Somebody posted on the big group earlier today the list of all the names, and it was it wasn't very difficult to argue with it. At any, there's about 15 names, and there's maybe 2 that I would have kept on it, which were. Yeah, here's the list was.
And if anyone wants to join this big group, by the way, message us on Twitter. But we need to make sure you're not a cock first. But you can send us a DM, and we will read it, and just to make sure that as long as your profile image isn't a clown face with exclamation marks, get out my fucking club and spend money, you should qualify. But yeah, send us a note.
So this was the list that came in from Danny. Release the following: Hugo, Forster. I wouldn't release Forster, to be honest with you. Dyer, Davies, Rodon, Longley. I probably wouldn't release Longley. No, 100%. Yeah. Tanganga, Sanchez, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Winks, Reguilon. Maybe there's a future for Reguilon. I don't know. Højbjerg.
If we go back to
Lucas, Perisic, and Son. So out of them, you're probably only keeping 3 or 4, aren't you?
Yeah, I agree.
But straight to the point, which 3 or 4 are you keeping?
You're keeping Forster, you're keeping Davis, you're probably keeping Longley. You don't want to get rid of Son, but it probably is time to cash in if you get a half-decent offer.
And that's a different point of releasing and cashing in, right? So, and this is where me and Roops were going backwards and forwards. Where I actually agreed with Roops, which we don't always agree and see eye to eye on things. Is our player discharge or our player letting players go? We're really, really bad at understanding where the value is to let those players go. We let them drift over the edge, and then So I think Son. I think if you get a good offer for Son abroad this summer, 40 mil, let him go. He's 30. Yeah. You get 40 mil for him, let him go. Then you've also got a big question, and I'm going to stick it out there. Do you cash in on Kane this summer if he's not going to sign a contract?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And is the fact that we're going to choose a manager based on whether Kane stays or not part of the issue?
Yeah.
It's not just about Kane being Kane. It's the whole fucking rigmarole of every season, this circus, a media circus around, is Harry Kane staying? And just you can't move forward until you fully let go. And
we love him, right? We love him to pieces. He's the best striker I've ever seen at Tottenham, and I've been going there for 40 years. So I never saw Greaves, so I can't compare. But he's the best striker I've ever seen at Tottenham. I love him to pieces, but I love Glenn Hoddle to pieces. But I understand why he went to Monaco. And I didn't want to see him go in 87, but he went. The 87 Cup final was the last game I watched him play.
Wouldn't it be different if Kane was saying, I love this club, I'm not going anywhere? Then it's like, of course we want you to stay. We love you too, Carrie. But when he's not willing to commit himself and we're holding ourselves back trying to make him commit himself,
it's twofold. Already losing Kane, whether we sell him or he goes on a free, is going to be a terrible impact. It's going to be terrible, a tough task to find someone to replace him. Losing him on a free, so it's going to cost us X amount on top. It's just killing ourselves twice. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Also, Stu, we'll lose him on a free to another Premier League
club.
Because he's gonna stay in the Premier League to get Shearer's record. He's desperate for that. So I could live with him going abroad. If we cashed in this summer and he went to Madrid, Barcelona, wherever, PSG, you know what? I'll live with that. It's just one of them. We've lost him, but the chances are he's going to go to Man United. If he goes anywhere, it's Man United or Liverpool. I would have thought one of those two.
What a shame for himself to go to Man United, because it doesn't guarantee anything, and it I just fucking hate. I just hate the arrogance of Man United. But anyway, that's another.
And that might be part of where his mindset goes at the end of the season. Is what are my options? They're probably Man United or Liverpool. Do they offer me anything much more than what Spurs offers me next season if we get a decent manager in?
I'm not sure they do. Liverpool can afford his wages, especially with that ridiculous Salah deal that they just penned. That Salah deal is going to come back to bite them hard. It already is a little bit.
And Chelsea can't have him either because their FFP is all up the spout.
That's why I don't think that Chelsea are going to get. I'm not sure. I think that Chelsea are going to go with are going to do what Tottenham have done. I think Chelsea are going to end up with a serial winner, and I don't think that group of players with their 85,000 attackers and.
Well, they've got 125 right wings, and they
exactly. The squad is so poorly built. Like, I get it if you want to slag off Tottenham for being a poorly run institution. We are.
But we're not. We're not a poorly run institution. Our football side is a bit of a mess.
Footballing, institution.
Yes,
we are. Everything else is wonderful. Chelsea is a poorly run institution, top to bottom.
Yeah.
The Bully is giving every single American a bad name. He is.
Not you, DJ.
Absolutely,
not you, my friend. Not you, DJ.
I have worked hard to get that off my back. But he's treating this like, I would say it's like it's Football Manager, but that shit wouldn't fly in Football Manager. He's treating this like it's FIFA Ultimate Team on easy mode.
Well, 20 million for a 15-year-old is a fucking joke.
It is unbelievable. And then they spent basically our club record signing, hiring and firing a manager in 6 months. That is unbelievably poor management from Chelsea. And I see all these Tottenham fans on Twitter talking about how, Chelsea this, Chelsea that. I would want to go to Chelsea because Chelsea are a seriously run club. No, they're not. They just have the money to throw around. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter how much money they have to throw around. Financial fair play, weak as it is, will come to get them at some point.
That will implode at some point.
Because they do not have infinite money.
Because what they've done is they've set the top of the market. So what they've done now is the players that are on their roster that they can't get rid of, they can't get rid of them at that level. So they're going to have to take a loss on a lot of the players that they've.
100 million.
Well, he's coming back next season. It'll be a dream. Fucking some fucking 70-foot barge up front that turns fucking slower than a pint of milk.
One of the 85
even the Italian league, that tells you how shit he's done.
Like they don't even like Like, if you're dropping 100 million on a player, I'm sorry, it's not Mudryk. Mudryk is a great player. He's going to be a great talent. He's not 100 million. Same thing goes for Anthony.
But you've got 8 years to get him right, though. You've got 8 years to do
but apparently this is all... And sorry if I missed that part of the conversation. I had to run out for a piss. But the Bowley approach, and he obviously didn't take time to evaluate English football. Everything happened so quick with Chelsea and their acquisition with Bowley, and he was put in charge as part of this consortium. But the approach in baseball, as I understand it, is you sign a young player on a massive contract, inflation kicks in, and 5 years later you sell that player at a massive profit. Even if they haven't really improved as a player, you can do that. English football doesn't work like that because there's only 3 or 4 clubs in the world who can afford these players once they hit that price threshold. And I think he's loaded up.
That's the issue. Is that in baseball, I vaguely follow, not nearly as much as I follow the Prem or any other football league, but in baseball there are basically 5 teams that have a lot of money, not unlike the Prem in that situation. But the difference between baseball and the other leagues is, first of all, they don't necessarily have a salary cap, but they pretend they do, which helps a little bit in terms of that. And also, if you want to talk about long-term deals, baseball has long-term deals. There's a guy for the New York Mets who retired in 2001 and is still getting a couple million a year on July 1st. They sign 30-year deals. It is unbelievable the amount of reckless spending that happens in the MLB, and it's fine because every single sporting institution in the United States is incredibly overvalued. And I don't know exactly why, but you can see it looking at the MLS.
Do you know what fills me with more confidence is, Kieran Maguire, who's a very well-renowned financial football expert. If you follow him on Twitter and have a look at his comments, not his tweets, but his comments, he thinks Bowley is a fucking arrogant twat. And I'm sorry if you don't agree, Kieran, if that's a bit of a strong... You haven't actually called him an arrogant twat. But following your tweets, you think he has no respect for Brighton, no respect for football, and it comes across like he doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Whereas I think one realm where people are like, no, this guy is so off-piste, he's just a genius. No, he's actually... It looks like he's just an idiot who's come in and treated football like baseball.
How do you sustain this model? I don't really understand. He comes in and he's buying so many players at that level. Then, what happens when you actually need to refresh the squad and you need to make things similar? How can you do that? How can you bring in new players?
Bowley's approach is, I think he's trying to do the Moneyball approach, but the whole point of the Moneyball approach was you bought players that nobody else wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
And cheap.
Chelsea, for cheap. Chelsea is doing the Moneyball approach, but for players everyone wants and paying over the odds for them, and hoping they come good in the next couple decades.
They spent 30 million on Madueke. I mean, Madueke wasn't even a finished article in the Dutch league.
Yeah,
I mean, what the hell?
And I think the way that they're dealing with the amortization of this is that's why you've got the 8-year contracts, so you can amortize it over those 8 years. So that is a get around on the FFP. But eventually that catches up with you because you can only do that for so long before you go, well, actually, we've maxed out our amortization, which I think there's now changed from next year. It's just a credit card approach. It was from 5 years to, it's gone from 8 years to 5 years now. So that's fucked them. Because then how many of those huge signings actually work out at clubs? I don't know the percentage, but I know that they don't
for us.
It's certainly not 100%. You look at some of the big ones at any clubs; they don't work out. Sure. They don't work out 100%. So then, how do you cut your losses when you paid 100 mil for Mudryk, and in 3 years' time, he's worth 30 mil at best?
Well,
if he does.
Yeah, they spent 90 million on Warner, 100 million on Lukaku. I mean, they're just players they've had to write off.
Yeah. At least we're not Chelsea.
Oh, exactly. I'd rather anything would be those knobs. I absolutely hate them. I'd hate. Yeah, they're absolute scumbags. What annoys me as well is how quickly they lost sight of where they came from. They were us, right? They were mid-table, scrappy, facing bankruptcy.
They were worse than us.
But they always still beat us. The only thing I would say.
I was going there mid-80s, and they were shit. They were absolute shit.
They got
To give an
relegated in
idea-
days, didn't
Of
Yeah.
the biggest transfers, top 10 biggest transfers in the Premier League, we've got, let's see, we have Kai Havertz. I think that's pretty unmitigated flop.
Yep.
Except for Champions League final goal. He's their Lucas Moura, I guess. But other than that, I don't see his value, especially in the position they play him in. Because you got Kepa. That went over well. You've got Pepe.
Who?
Nicola Pepe from
Arsenal.
Yeah.
Trust me, I will never forget that one because that
70
was
million,
a 72 million. That was a wonderful deal for us.
Million.
You got Jadon Sancho. He's really tearing things up over there at Man United. Van Dijk is our first success.
Yeah.
You've got Lukaku. You've got Big Harry Maguire.
Slap it.
You've got Anthony. You've got Pogba. Pogba's debatable.
He was a flop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why is Pogba? Wait, stop. Before we finish pod, why the fuck is Pogba debatable? I've seen this so many times of people being like,
The thing
he wasn't that bad.
I think
I thought it was awful.
I think Pogba's debatable because I think that Pogba came in to Man United at a time where Man United were absolutely woeful, and I don't think that he was in a position of need for them. I think that there were other positions that they could have improved. He's kind of like what Christian Romero is for us now, in my opinion. I think he was a very talented player in a very bad team.
He was also a Mourinho scapegoat, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And I have a lot of sympathy for anyone who has to play under Mourinho, and Mourinho picks you out and is like, you are bad.
And
And
he
you
was
saw,
still
he just signed a new
good for
contract.
France. He was still
Yeah.
good for France during that time as well, right? So he's
Yeah.
still. So yeah,
Yeah, that's why I kind of Pogba was a failure, but I'm not going to put that entirely on Pogba like I would on some of these other
He's
players.
not a team player, though, is he? He's one of
No.
these guys that just believes his own hype.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
want him at my club, to be honest with you.
No.
Yeah. Then finally, you've got Lukaku, you've got Grealish, and you've got Fernandes. And Enzo Fernandez might end up be worth his
maybe,
money. I think
but I don't
he's
think
an
so.
incredible talent, but
but you don't.
sorry,
But that's
he's
sort
not
of
going to
money
be the
for a
best player in the
midfielder.
Prem. He's never going to be the best player in the Prem, and that's what you paid for.
But
And
also,
this
wasn't
is
he
what-
like one of
this-
those golden rules? You never buy a player after a World Cup.
Yeah, one of them.
Didier Sakura. Sorry,
But this is where as well. This is the Man City paradigm that you look at, right? So they can pay 100 million for Jack Grealish, and they can afford to let him settle in for a year, and there's no risk for them. And now, I mean, he played at the weekend. He was superb against Liverpool, and he's got magnificent calves. How he goes over when he gets kicks on them, I don't know. But they're like calves, like wardrobes, aren't they?
You sound like my brother. He's absolutely fixated on those man's legs. But
They are
Got great
gorgeous.
calves.
unfortunately,
Lovely
we're going to have to end in a minute. So we're gonna have to end in a minute. 'Cause we're hitting the hour. I don't want to finish it on size. Yeah, fascination with his legs. But
my Grealish calf.
yeah,
To put a pin in it, I think Tottenham are in a bad place right now. I think, like I've seen some people say on Twitter, I don't think that we are in as bad of a position as we think we are. We just need to make one good decision, and that is it. Whether we make it or not is completely up in the air because
well, that's it. Deej, you're spot on. We did a poll, right? And we had 200 people answer this poll. And it was who's having the best season? Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea, or, guys, remind me who's last. Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea, Everton, or West Ham. Tottenham got 97% of the votes. Like, some of those clubs are bigger than us and some of them are smaller than us.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it's a weird fucking season. Like, in no normal way should Arsenal be winning the league this year. In a normal season, that team's finishing third and we're finishing sixth. But equally, Liverpool are in a mess, Chelsea are in a mess.
Yeah.
And it just...
But I tell you one thing that drives a little bit of hope inside of me is that you've got someone like Eddie Howe that has done what he's done at Newcastle, and he hasn't really had an influx of cash.
Just good
He made a
coaching.
couple of good signings, but you can turn it round quickly with the right manager. With the right manager, with the right culture, with the right drive, We've got good players at our club.
Look at what Conte did last season.
Yeah.
Listen, get the injuries back. We've got good players at our club.
We do have good players at our club. I'm so tired of this narrative that we're like weak, spineless. Sure, we may have checked out for the season, but like that is the fault of the management as much as it is the players.
Agreed.
And I like I'm sorry, I don't think like if you're gonna say Kane's a problem, I disagree with you. If you're gonna say Romero's a problem, I disagree with you. If you're gonna say Porro's a problem, I disagree with you. If you're gonna say Perisic is a problem, I'm 100% agreeing with you.
But there's also 15 million reasons why Conte was the problem and not taking any ownership, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what's doing my nutting at the moment. It's all these Twitter warriors that are looking for the silver bullet. It's Levy, it's Conte, it's the players. It's a combination of all of that, by the way. Yeah. It's not one thing on its own. You don't have a silver bullet that solves every problem that you got.
See, that's the thing. It's Conte, it's Levy, it's the players. That is the reason we're failing this season.
Yeah.
Want to know what? It's Conte, it's Levy, it's the players. That's the reason that we succeeded last season. That's the reason we got fourth. But it's because, love him or hate him, Levy, who still, by all accounts, is the buck stops there for him.
Yeah.
He made the decision to fire Nuno and hire Conte. Yeah. And that ended up with us getting fourth. And for where we were at the start of the season, I'm not saying, ooh, I want to have fourth every season. And that's the height of my ambition.
Do you know what I find weird as well? The same people who despise Levy are desperate for Jed Spence to play. And he was Jed Spence's, and Jed Spence was a pure Levy side.
I found it the exact opposite. I found that everyone who loves Levy, who hates Levy, loves Conte, and because they love Conte, they think that Jed Spence is useless and will never be good for us because he hasn't had a 10 out of 10 performance for a okay side in League One.
Well, that's enough for me.
Well, I don't get fixated on that
one
because...
Thing, Jim, I just want to go back to your point, going back to the whole silver bullet thing. If it was so easy, everyone would be doing it. Everton would be doing it. West Ham would be doing it. Villa would be doing it. Liverpool wouldn't be going downhill. Chelsea wouldn't be going downhill. It's fucking difficult to point the right DOF, the right manager, hire the right player.
Trophies in world football that fans want to see when you're in the Premier League, and that's the Champions League and the Premier League. The FA Cup just gives you a couple of years of breathing space. Yeah,
would you take the Carabao Cup if you lost to Arsenal 7-0 afterwards? I know that went around on Twitter for a while, but I wouldn't personally. There ain't no way.
I would take the FA Cup and coming fifth this year over the over not winning the FA Cup and coming fourth. Definitely. Yeah. But I wouldn't do that every year. But I would definitely do it most years. Trophies are a barometer of success. They are the main barometer of success. But equally, money equals the ability to buy better players.
So for me, top four is not the goal. It's a horizon, a stepping stone to the title. And so you have to then push on. And that's the problem, is that top four seems to be the financial safety net that the company, let's call it a company, because that's the company.
But the question I have for you guys is, do we want to finish 8th and therefore compete in one less tournament and one less chance to win silverware, or do we want to finish in Europe? I'd go for 8th.
No, 8th.
I would finish 8th. Yeah. I don't buy the we only can sign good players if we're in the Champions League. I think our best window was the window when we were in the Champions League.
I'm not going to disagree with the statement per se, but I think if we have ambitions to win the league, you have to be signing players.
That's not going to happen in one season, is it?
No. Of course, it's not. But I think that what you've got there is you've got to be able to be in a position to attract those players to be able to move forwards. 8th doesn't allow you to do that.
You're wrong, and do you know why? I'm going to give you one word why you're wrong. One word why you're wrong.
Go on.
Arsenal.
Exactly.
I'm going to speak. Shut up, DJ. I've let you boys talk over me.
I'll see you later, boys.
No. I know that we're saying, on one hand, there's a lot of good players there, and there's a lot to be optimistic about, and we always try and look at it from that angle. But the last few years since Pochettino's left, there's been an awful lot of crap, and we've definitely gone backwards, and we've watched really, really poor football, and that's probably the number one thing that all of us here would like to see remedied. And when DJ saying a minute ago about like there's one decision to be made now, he knows far more about the appointments and the structure side of things than I do. But I mean, from what I've picked up listening to you boys, it's really surely you've got to get the director of football and then you've got to get the coach right. So there's two decisions, one follows from the other. We've got to have a plan, and we've got to like the players that we're talking about, like the players that were on the pitch yesterday, and the players that you guys mentioned a minute ago, who are really quality international footballers. They're still the players that have played the way they played yesterday after we went one goal up and one man up, and the way they played at Southampton, the way they've been playing all season, really, really horrendous, panicky, lacking confidence, not taking responsibility. So whoever is coming in, which is from what GJ's talking about, that appointment, there's so much that has to be fixed. It's not, and I think Eddie Howe observation is really, really good, because he hasn't really made that. I mean, Trippier and a few players have come in, but like we've still got a better squad, I think, probably than what they have. Maybe
no doubt.
There's better individual players that we have. So, but whoever is coming in, it's about just like we've got to get this right. We've got to have the culture that Sai goes on about, which is damn right, and that's what Levy talked about a couple of years ago when he made that statement.
Yeah,
we need to have everything right, and we just need the players that we keep. We have to have as aligned. And I noticed this evening on social media, people talking about like the Brighton game at the weekend. There's a lot of tickets have gone on to ticket exchange, which is not surprising after yesterday. And I'm thrilled to be going to Inverness, Caledonian Thistle versus Wraith Rovers on Saturday, which is the first home league game I'll have missed at White Hart Lane this season. And I'm delighted. I thought like a couple of weeks, even when Conte got sacked, I was thinking, oh bloody hell, I'm going to miss the first game at home went to the new manager. And now I'm like 10 years later thinking, thank Christ, I'm going to be in Inverness with my decent Scottish pie watching that. Do you know what I mean? So there's so much depends on what DJ is saying. Disappointment. It's like there's so much that we have to get right that is not right, and those players that just looking at them is so demoralising. It's so. It's just. I mean, Christ,
Jonny,
what we bring into our team.
You're spot on, and you've summarised our feeling as a whole. I think we've got to end it there because we're an hour and 10 minutes in. But I've checked out of the season until a new manager's in. I am just watching Spurs through blind love and nothing else. Yeah. And I've no urge. This is the moments where you watch Spurs and you go, I'm only doing this because I love you, even though I hate you at the same time. Yeah. And it's just purely because we're married, and I had no choice in this marriage either, that I'm watching you. And I just can't wait to have some optimism back. And I would be more optimistic with fucking Tim Sherwood in charge right now. But anyway, we've got to end there, boys. But it was a great chat.
Just good finish. I love you, boys.
But not as much as
I don't feel like I've been forced into this marriage at all. But Greenish has got some lovely calves.
Suck his toes, so. Right. Up Spurs.
Go Spurs.
Go Spurs.
There's two.